Hello everyone! In today's video, I continue the AMC Gremlin drag build. Now before I dive right in, if you are new to this project, I recommend you have a look at the playlist linked below in the description. You'll see all the work I've done so far, from unboxing the model kit to designing and assembling the chassis. I've got a lot that I'll be showcasing in this video, from bodywork to wiring the electronics, so let's dive right in. As you might recall, I finished assembling the chassis in the previous video of this series, so I next turned my attention to the body. Here are a lot of the parts that I'll be using for this body, including the chrome bumpers and grille. I decided that I wanted to paint the bumpers and grille black, so I placed them in a container of bleach to remove the chrome. Before, when I unboxed the model kit, the parts looked well molded, and I stand by that. However, I did notice a pretty big flaw with the front fascia piece. You can see a large part of the lower corner is missing, along with the tab that helps you place it on the body. It doesn't look like something that'd be easy to fix using just filler, so I just left it as it is, though it will be a noticeable flaw on the finished car. Hopefully this wasn't a widespread issue. At least I don't have to worry about the first scratch or body damage I inflict, since it already looks like it's got some damage before I even drive it, so I've got that going for me. I wanted to glue the front fascia to the front of the body right away, since it appeared to be a little too wide for the body. I wanted to super glue it into place now, rather than later when I'll risk messing up the paint. As a result of the front being pushed out a little because of the front fascia, the hood is now a little too narrow at the front. It's not ideal, but I guess I'd rather have a large hood gap rather than the sides of the fascia sticking out beyond the front fenders. This kit includes a lot of optional parts, including these rear window covers, which I'll be using on my build. I needed to do some sanding to get them to fit. I then began working on improving the appearance of all the parts using sandpaper, files, and a hobby knife. The finished body will look much better with any imperfections such as mold lines and flashing removed. I also deepened all the panel gaps. Some of the details on this body are a little shallow. The body is looking better after that work was completed, so I moved on to modifying the rear wheel arches so there's enough room for the large rear tires. I only needed to remove a small amount of material to get the body to fit. At this point, I wanted to lay down some primer, not only so it's ready for paint, but also to help identify any parts that need some more work. To make some of the custom parts that I'll be adding easier, I 3D scanned the body. This isn't a requirement, but since I've got a scanner, why not put it to use? It will also make designing some of these parts a little easier. For example, it made designing a custom shallow interior piece that will fit this body very easy. I did this using Autodesk Fusion 360. I want to have as much room for the electronics below this interior as possible, so I'm making it very shallow. I'm also not too concerned with adding a ton of details, just some seats, a driver, a roll cage, and a steering wheel. In addition to the interior piece, I designed a drag car inspired intake that I can glue to the underside of the hood. And just like the chassis, both of these items are available for download on Patreon. I printed out these parts on a SLA 3D printer. The print quality of each is a little poor, but they'll look good enough to use after a little work. The interior fit well and will allow a lot of room for the electronics to sit beneath it. Speaking of electronics, here's the battery, ESC, and receiver I need to install. I removed the case from the receiver so it will take up less space. I also removed the cover on the ESC and soldered on a compatible battery plug and removed the on-off switch. After that, I soldered a plug onto the motor. I connected everything and did a quick test to ensure all the electronics work. I also changed a few settings on the transmitter, including adjusting the steering dual rate so the steering servo doesn't push the steering arm past full lock. I used double-sided tape to secure the receiver and made a little shelf out of styrene for the ESC to sit on just over the drive shaft. I did the best I could to tidy up the wires. This is how the chassis looks with all the electronics wired and mounted. I'll have to shove the battery somewhere in the back, but it fits. Using styrene tubes and rare earth magnets, I made some body mounts, which I will later secure to the bottom of the interior. I made sure each mount was low enough and that they are all the same height. I've made identical body mounts as these for past builds that I showcased on this channel. Here I'm test fitting the windshield to ensure it won't interfere with the placement of the interior. I was eager to see how the motor and interior pieces would look with some primer. Some of the imperfections are quite visible, but after paint they should look alright. At this stage, the car's really coming along nicely. I've got the electronics installed and working, body mounts in place, and all the body parts are ready for paint. I'll be continuing this project in an upcoming video, so make sure you're subscribed if you aren't already. You can also become a member on Patreon using the link below, or become a channel member by clicking the join button just under this video for exclusive perks, early access to videos, and to help make more content like this possible. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.